Hello and welcome to the second of our armoured previews for Mare Nostrum 1.4. This is one you've all been waiting for, a glimpse of the new Italian tanks in combat. So today we have the Carro Armato 1340, the Semovente 7518 and the 7.5cm Leichtgeschütz 40. The M1340 was probably the best and most widely used Italian tank of World War II, but even then it was still outclassed by most of its contemporaries on the battlefield. It had a 47mm high-velocity cannon, which was excellent when you consider that most German and Allied contemporaries were armed with 37mm or 2-pounder guns. However, despite that, it fared badly against the British heavy infantry tanks, such as the Matilda II. It simply lacked the armour required for tank combat, even by 1940 standards, and in some cases it was found that even 2-pounder armour-piercing shells had punched straight through the M1340 tanks, leaving both entry and exit holes. During a series of disastrous battles with the Italians in Libya in February 1941, over 100 M1340s were captured in working condition and used operationally by the British 6th Royal Tank Regiment and Australian 6th Cavalry as a short-term solution for replacing their own losses. Despite the issues faced by the M1340, they did manage to put up a fight against their Allied counterparts, and even had a small number of victories. They also succeeded in knocking out a sizable number of Allied tanks over the course of their operational history in North Africa. The M1340 is equipped with high explosive, armour-piercing and EP or Effecto Pronto shells. EP is the equivalent of high explosive anti-tank or heat. Since velocity has little effect on the armour-piercing capability of the round, which is defined by explosive power, heat rounds were particularly useful in long-range combat, where the slower terminal velocities were not an issue. Heat was particularly useful to them because it allowed the low-velocity, large-bore guns used on the Carro Armato and Semovente tank series to become useful anti-tank weapons as well. The Semovente was based upon the chassis of the M1340, with its weak 125 horsepower engine and the 75mm Ansaldo field gun, which again uses HE, AP and EP shell types. It has increased armour over the M1340, as the upper hull was made from two riveted steel plates, which were thicker and stronger than the original homogeneous plate. The gun was a fairly modern design, but had a low muzzle velocity of only 450 metres per second, meaning it had a relatively short range of 7,000 to 8,000 metres. Originally designed for an artillery role, the Semovente was pressed into frontline action alongside the M1340s due to its enclosed crew compartment and heavy gun. They performed well against Allied armour and were capable of destroying both the M3 Grant and M4 Sherman tanks used by the British Army. Whilst the Semovente was a successful design, they were never produced in quantities sufficient to fulfil the tank and self-propelled gun roles for which they were intended. It had a very small ammunition load for a self-propelled gun and a slow rate of fire due to the limitations of a 3-man crew. As for its role as a battle tank, the lack of coaxial machine gun was the main hindrance to good performance. A much respected tank, the Semovente served across North Africa and Sicily in important battles such as El Alamein. The necessity for a larger and more powerful gun led to the development of the Semovente 7534, 7546 and 10525. Development of recoilless weapons began in 1937 in an effort to provide airborne troops with heavy support weapons that could be dropped by parachute. The LG-40 first saw use during the Battle of Crete and saw widespread use by German parachute units, both Luftwaffe and Waffen-SS for the rest of the war. The recoilless rifle had the range to stay easily hidden on the battlefield, was light enough to be portable by a small team, but had the performance needed to defeat any tank.